The water level. What could be worse than the water level? Today, gameranx brings you the 10 worst water levels in video games. Number 10, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles dam level, which has an appropriate name, cause damn I hate this level. So you have to swim around a dam and defuse a bunch of bombs. There's obviously a timer because there's bombs involved, but on top of that, there's also an element of having to time your movements. There's electric gateways that turn on and off because, you know, that's how dams work, and you have to sit in front of them and wait for them to turn off so you can pass through without damaging yourself. All of the plant life growing in the dam is also either electric or poison, I'm not sure. Pretty much every element of this stupid level is counterintuitive. A timer plus timing elements. It's not like you can just dodge these electric walls, you are stuck waiting for them. But there is some solace. If you lose a turtle and start over again with another turtle, the bombs you've deactivated stay deactivated. But the timer resets. Like, it's pretty much the only way you can beat it if you haven't played it before, is losing turtles. The whole level's just essentially a dick move. Number 9, Blackwater City from Ratchet & Clank. Now this level's a frickin' nightmare. It's got great music, I'll give it that, but it's a frickin' nightmare. Anybody with claustrophobia or like a drowning phobia of some sort, it's basically got to be the worst for those people because you always drown. Like, it takes several tries to get through without drowning. That part where the room just fills up with water, oh, so much fun. And like, you think, okay, what I need to do is just go up with the water going up. And it kinda works, but you pretty much, it's gonna screw up at least once, maybe twice, maybe a few times, until you figure out that a stretch jump does the trick. Okay, cool, stretch jump. Why did you make it so I had to do that? Number 8, Dire Docks from Super Mario 64. Now, when we look back at Super Mario 64 through our rose-colored glasses, we never remember this level. This level never comes up in discussion about Mario 64. No one ever talks about it. Dire Docks is essentially 2 pools with a tunnel in between them. It's easily the smallest level in the game and literally takes time because it's a water level. There aren't other reasons. Swimming is much slower than walking. That's the reason why you spend time in this level. This is also one of those levels where they really milked it for stars. All of the objectives are just ridiculous. Open 4 chests in a certain order. Come on, you made a tiny level. This was one of those levels where it just got me angry that I had to get all the stars in. Number 7, Amnesia the Dark Descent, the water level. Okay, so Amnesia the Dark Descent is, in many ways, not a good game to play if you're jumpy. A lot of YouTubers have done very well magnifying their presences by screaming at the top of their lungs to Amnesia the Dark Descent. The reason for that? It's so relatable. Seriously, I'm not making a joke. It's incredibly relatable to be terrified of this game. And the water level is the absolute most screamy part of the game because you're getting followed around by monsters that make terrible noises as you trudge through the water and watch them basically sneak up on you and kill you repeatedly. I don't really think there's much else to describe. It's just awful. This level is awful. Nightmare fuel for certain. Number 6, Tomb Raider 2 40 Fathoms, which is essentially a stupid maze with a bunch of timers. With a timer that eventually gives you some timer puzzles. Now first off, everything looks exactly the same, which is not good for a maze level. Would I call that great design? Not necessarily. And the reason I'm critical of that is because, well, the point is memory and it's a maze. You need to have some means of being able to distinguish where you are in the maze, but everything looks exactly the same, and part of it's technical limitations, and the other part is they just didn't bother. I'm sure they could have done something. There are other 3D games with similar levels, maze-oriented levels, from the same era that give you some indication as to where you are. But there's like 2 textures here, a green one and a brown one. And you know what? You could even use some kind of a landmark with those textures that would make it so that you could tell where the hell you were, or just use different types of platforms and wrap those textures around them. Just do something that visually distinguishes so you have some idea where you are so you're not so disoriented the whole frickin' level. But no, whatever. Screw you, player. Also, Venice in Tomb Raider 2 sucks ass as well. Let's not even bother with it, it just sucks. Number 5, The Legend of Zelda. You know what? Pick any Legend of Zelda and pick somewhere where there's water. Something about the core gameplay in Legend of Zelda makes water just bad. Doesn't matter if it's SNES NES, if it's N64, if it's Wii, if it's GameCube, whatever. It's just not good when you get stuck in the water. It slows down the gameplay. Generally, none of the mechanics are that particularly designed with water in mind, because they usually don't stick you with a lot of water throughout the course of the game, including in the one where literally the entire world was made of water. Even in that one, the game took place mostly on land, so when they plunk you into water, they just do dumb shit like make you carry around a princess in Jabu Jabu's belly, or just give you a random maze and call it a water level, like the Water Tumbling Ocarina of Time. It's exhausting. It's not good. And here's the thing, we have an open world Legend of Zelda coming up, so there's going to be water involved. Maybe because it's open world, they'll actually think about water a little bit more on account. I mean, it's going to be part of the terrain, but you know, they'll figure out a way to mess it up. I'm sure they will. They've done it in every Zelda. I'm sure they'll figure it out. Number 4, Earthworm Jim's water pressure level. And let's just say that the on foot part of this, we're not talking about that at all. The on foot part's pretty much like the rest of the entire game. It's great. No, the part that's so bad is when you have to get into this little bubble ship, I don't know what to call it, which comes with an air timer and the fragility of a 96-year-old man who hasn't drank any milk in at least 5 decades. Do you take supplements, sir? No! I also do a lot of swimming in the water near the nuclear power plant. And you have to navigate this stupid thing in a limited amount of time without breaking the incredibly brittle glass. When I was a kid, this literally made me quit the game for weeks. I was so excited to play Earthworm Jim, because I remember the hype train was intense for this game back in the 90s. Oh, the 90s hype was big too. We had magazines to do it for us. We would wait for months just to see the magazine. And I get to it and I get to this level, and as a kid I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. And I eventually beat it. I went back to it and I beat it. But I guarantee you that level in that game confused a lot of doctors as to how high the blood pressure level in children was. Number 3, Sonic the Hedgehog Labyrinth Zone. Holy shit. Sonic the Hedgehog Labyrinth Zone is not the worst thing in the world. It's actually not a badly designed level. But do you know what the problem with that level is? It doesn't work right. Okay, you get in the water and it stops working. It slows down, not like because you're in the water, but because for whatever reason, the game can't handle the fact that you're in the water. The frame rate dips, things don't behave like you expect them to, and it's just all around handled badly. Like when I played Labyrinth Zone and got through it the first time after several hours of frustration, I said to myself, when they make another Sonic the Hedgehog, this is the thing they need to fix. And fortunately they did. Chemical Plant Zone works like a frickin' dream. It has a little bit of slowdown, but nothing like Labyrinth Zone. Labyrinth Zone is a joke. It's a mess. It's a big fat mistake. Number 2, the aquatic level in Donkey Kong Country. And let me just say that this one is the opposite problem. Water in Donkey Kong Country works just fine. However, the level design is terrible unless you have the damn swordfish. Now, luckily, you get plenty of opportunities to get the swordfish, but if you lose that swordfish, there's no point. You can't do anything to enemies, and although you can't drown, the water levels take a very long time. And let's just get onto that subject for a minute. Why don't the monkeys drown? It seems like in Nintendo games, they're just like, you know what? If they're underwater, who cares? Video games are magic, so are the characters in video games. Everything's magic. Everything does exactly what we want it to do as opposed to what it would do. And finally, World of Warcraft Vashir. So moving around in water is slow enough in World of Warcraft as it is. But once you get a spell to breathe underwater and it becomes apparent that you're going to need to do a lot of that, it starts to become much more of a concern. Some of the rarest items in World of Warcraft are available in Vashir, and guess what? They put them there because they know it's torture to go to Vashir. You actively have to choose to subject yourself to the worst area in the entire game to get those items. And not because it's the hardest, but because it's the most excruciatingly boring, tiresome, and uninteresting part of the game. So thanks, Blizzard. Good job. Couple of bonus for you. Pokemon. Any Pokemon game where you get to the point that you need HM Surf. Hooray! Lots of tentacles. Metal Gear Solid 2, anytime you have to swim as Raiden in Big Shell, dodging bombs and dead bodies, it was a huge pain in the ass. He controlled like an awkward goof, almost as much as he looked like an awkward goof. And it was even more difficult when he was tasked with dragging Emma through the water with him. and Pikmin 2 The Submerged Castle, which you can only bring blue Pikmin in, which, can't really do anything against the boss of the dungeon, the Water Wraith. I mean, they can, but it takes much longer than it would with purple Pikmin, which the Water Wraith is weak to. But, whatever. Which water level do you hate the most? Let's meet down in the comments. Tell me all about it. If you enjoyed this video, please click like. And if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. And we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.